13 weeks ago, Sarcevic, James Bolton, but Sarcevic in our eyes scored the winning goal to send Bradford City back into League One after 7 years out of it. And then Sarcevic scores the first goal when we're back in League One through a Stephen Humphries shot that were parried straight to him. And he's just always in the right place to get those type of goals. And that's what he did again today in a 2-1 win for Bradford City against Wycombe Wanderers. Now, it just has that feel again, doesn't it? No, I'm joking. I'm not getting carried away. But, the first game last season we won 2-1, and it was a very similar game. Let's not pretend. Wycombe were very poor and really surprised me by how poor they were, to be honest with you. They didn't look any form of a team. They looked very they looked disillusioned as a football team and as people. They didn't look like they had any structure or any plan of action. They try play out, but they weren't good enough at it. Our press would deny them from playing out. They didn't look like they had a clue how we were going to set up against them. They looked stunned by how we were as a team, how high pressing we were, and the way we set up our back line and our midfield, how narrow we are. They didn't look like they had any plan to stop that. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing. They'd go along and they didn't scrap for it when they went it long, and our big back line stood tall to it, and every challenge that they had. And we did look superb defensively. I thought the midfield controlled the game well and read and broke down their passing lines really well and blocked a lot of that out. So credit to Lee and Power, and especially Lee. He deserves a lot of praise because last season when he came in January to May, up until that Hail Mary against Fleetwood, he did get stick, and perhaps rightly so because his performances weren't good enough, but he was playing out of position. He ain't a striker, he ain't a 10. He's been playing as a 6 throughout pre-season and again today, and I think it suits him really well. He can dictate, he can break up play, and he can do simple basics, and he does it really well. So credit to him. I thought he had a really good game, did Tommy Lee, and he deserved that type of a performance, and he deserved his moment against Fleetwood as well, like everyone did, and they all contributed to that promotion, so did he in his own little way, and he could really make that position his own. There's competition in there this season, and you'd have him down as the fourth choice, but he's got this opportunity to nail that down for himself, and he's done himself good favours today. And the front three, I thought in the first half pressed well, created a lot, and got into some really good positions, combined well, and it allowed us to be quite fluid in our counters. And Stephen Humphries at the top of that didn't get his goal. Poynton and Sarcevic did, and Poynton's was spectacular. I mean, what a stunning strike. You can see it bouncing around and Poynton sort of jumping up. He's waiting for the ball to come because he knows when it does, he's hitting it first time. And because he had that instinct to do that, he didn't have to think about how he was going to hit his shot. You can tell he's already thinking about it, and he cuts across it, and it just bullet. It's just an absolute bullet into the bottom right hand corner, and that is goal of the weekend. I haven't seen any others, but in my mind that is what a goal from one of our own. And I did think this season he might struggle to get into a team. I thought Humphries on the left, Sarcevic on the right, and he'll have to earn his right back into a team, but clearly he's done that, and he's took his chance again today. What a goal, and what a player he's proven to be. He's certainly made a step up to League One from this first 90 minutes quite well. But Stephen Humphries, I want to talk about him because there's a lot of there's a bit of rumours that he don't want to be a striker, and Barnes fans have said he can't play as a striker, but today I thought he was a complete striker. I thought he did everything you need as a striker. He held the ball up well, he linked the attack well, he pressed and led the front line, and he was unlucky not to get a goal for his reward because, he was all over that forward line, and that's what we need from a 9. They are a traditional 9. They do have to hold it up and link play, but they are going to have to come deeper. They are going to have to press high. They've got to do everything, and I think it suits him in a way that he can drift to the left, he can drift to the right. That it's a fluid line where he can rotate with your Sarcevic's and your Poyntons. And I think that does suit him. I think it does. I thought in pre-season it didn't, but against Oldham I saw a bit with how he was linking up with Swan and how they interchanged. And I saw it today and I thought, yeah, I can see the reasoning now behind Alexander. He is definitely better off coming from the left, but also, is it too predictable? That he's always going to come in. Whereas when he's drifting, it creates more space for others to go into his area, but also it gives him a bit more space and time on the ball because he's coming away from having to hold it up all the time. But But like I say, he ain't predictable, but he's always going to be coming in from that left hand side, cutting onto his right. So, and he had a big part to play in Sarcevic's goal. So I thought he had a really good all round complete performance, and that's why he was my man of match. But that is unfair on that back three and back five. I thought Nerfel as well. I think he's going to be my player of the season, because he just gives us another dimension to be able to take it past a player, to be able to stretch their back line, and he's a real threat in behind. And he's always going to be a runner, and he's always going to want to get that cross in, and that makes it very hard to defend against, because he's got the natural pace, but he's got the natural ability to want to create, and just get that sense for every time he gets the ball, he's going to do something with it. And that's exactly the type of spark that you need in a team. But defensively, he reads it, he blocks it, he gets onto it, and he does the basics well from that end as well. So I'm really looking forward to continuing watching Josh Nerfel, because he's going to be a real star as a right wing back for us, because they are technically right wingers anyway. And like I say, that back three, wow, how solid as a back three do you want to get than that? Till, Wright and Pennington, who pre-season wise I wasn't impressed, but today I thought he had a really solid game. But Till, he will smash into anybody. He really will. He's like a car driving up Manningham Lane. He will smash into anything and anyone, and it might be another brick wall, but he'll go straight through it. And that is the type of guy Curtis Till is. What a man. He's going to be so hard to defend against, and the fact that he got so much criticism coming in, well, he looks like he's hungry to make people eat their words. And Wright as well. Sometimes you think he might get caught out for pace, but he still manages to hold them off for his strength, for his physical ability, and he ain't that slow. But he's really good at putting in a last-ditch tackle. He looks decent and competent on the ball, but today what we had to do was we had to be really resilient defensively. We had to dig in, we had to grind out, we had to churn out, and that back line played all their part in that, because they did have 68% of the ball, and they had around the double figures for shots. They had a lot outside the box, and we blocked a lot of them, and that is credit to that back three for getting the bodies on the line, getting in front of the ball and blocking it. But one thing with Wright is, I'm sure it was Wright who handballed it in the penalty box. Now let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below, but for me, that was a stonewall penalty, and we've been given a lifeline by Sebastian Stockbridge, I think he's called, the referee. He's always been a shocker, but luckily it was in the hands of Wycombe today, because they should have had a penalty. So a bit of luck there, and a bit of luck for Sarcevic's goal, because their keeper should have saved it. And like I said, I've already said with Wycombe how disappointed I were with them, but thankfully I were. But what we can be excited for is the fact that we've just gone and beat Wycombe 2-1 at home. It was the carbon copy of the performances at home last season, and it looked so comfortable for 60 minutes until we got a bit tired. And you could tell that the front line, that they did drop off a bit with the press. The midfield lost the runners a few more times, and the back line just weren't quite getting to that ball quicker than Wycombe were, who made a lot more subs. But I don't think that's a criticism of Alexander, and I don't think that's a criticism of the squad and the depth of it. I think it's more of a praise for Alexander, because we saw it out and we looked really professional and experienced to see that out, and that's what that squad is. And that 5-10 minutes, it's never comfortable. We know what happened on the 3rd of May, but I did feel about as comfortable as I could, because we were very smart, very intelligent, and I give credit to Alexander for that, because he didn't make changes, because we were still as sharp as we were mentally, physically a bit tired, but we're still as sharp as we were. If you're making subs and you're changing that team, they've got to adapt to the game, they've got to get up to speed. When you're trying to hold on to a lead, I think he did right there, to be fair. I didn't think the subs were necessarily needed. I think if he were to do it, would have been 55th, 60th minute, Poynton and Sarcevic to just freshen up a bit. But when he got to 70 and 80, it would have been completely unnecessary, I think. The foundations are set, and I think if that's anything to go by, I said it last season, MK Dons, they had a lot of good chances. Wycombe had a lot of good chances. They had a lot of the ball in the right area. I think it was Leahy, but if it wasn't him, it was someone else, obviously. He blazed it over the bar into a top tier of the TL Dallas inside the penalty box. I think it was half an open goal. It was there for him to score. It was right there for him, and he missed. MK Dons had about 4 or 5 of them and Wycombe had a couple, and that's how fine it can be. But we end up getting promotion that season. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that performance, we got the win, and we had the experience, we had know-how, we got through it, we did enough to win the game, and we deserved to. But there were warning signs. But what we then did was we kept the run going, and we just gradually improved our performances. Unfortunately, September to November, we did have an awful one of injuries. If we didn't have that, that would have continued, because we just gradually improved bit by bit. Performances improved, results then improved as well, and we're looking like a make of a really good team. And I think that's going to happen again. Performances will improve from that. Because we're not going to tire after 60 minutes every game. That's just not going to happen. It's so early into a season, but we might next week tire after 70 minutes, 80 minutes, and then we follow it up to speed. And we are going to be such a hard team to play against at a high press like we do, because that is an unstoppable thing. The atmosphere today were fantastic. Pre-game as well, North Parade was very busy, not as busy, couldn't be as busy, but even when you walk into the ground, you're seeing people starting to run chants. I want to see more of that. I want to see more people in Bradford if we can, before the game, if you can get there, and after as well. Let's get it rocking. And like I say, I was so proud and impressed. But people are starting to run chants walking up to the ground, because I hadn't seen that. Obviously Fleetwood we saw it, but that were all planned really. Everyone sort of had an idea we were going to do a march, and then you start your own song because it's a planned march to do that with flags and drums. But when it's authentic like that, it's even better. So let's keep doing that, because authentic, organic is better. Although some cases, it's not. I mean, I do like a bit of meat on my carver. Although I had a carvery last night and I didn't like any of the meat. The turkey wasn't much of it, and looked a bit fatty. The beef, there wasn't much of that, and that looked very fatty. I don't like fatty beef, and never a fan of pork. Never had lamb, so I wasn't going to try it then. And the gammon, I opted with gammon, because you can't say I'm not having any. Then I do think you're vegan or vegetarian, and I'm certainly not. I'd love to have all the meat and all that if it was actually at its best prime standard, like a Curtis Tilt sort of a beef, but no, couldn't have that. So I had the gammon, and it was full of fat, and I didn't like it. I much preferred the potatoes and the Yorkshire pudding. The pigs in blankets were great. I was very surprised I had that. So yes, that's that. But let me know your favourite filling on a carvery. Let me know your thoughts on all the players as well, if you do want to do that. Let me know your thoughts on the performance. Like the video if you do, and subscribe if you're new, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Have a good one.